Howdy, everybody. How's it going? This is kind of a crazy moment for me. The craziest thing happened to me the other day, I suppose I should say. I was preparing to do a Rika is not dead video, right? And in the midst of it, I decided to play something different for like just a little bit, and it happened to top, right? Today I'm going to be going over my Bystial Punk build, how it topped, why it topped, the silliness in the side deck, and why I play my extra deck the way that I do. Um, yeah, super unexpected. Did not think that I would top, especially not with the caliber of players that were there. Shout outs Jonah for taking first place. If it wasn't for Jonah beating me and then taking first place, I would not have been as high on the list as I would have. Anyway, I mean, let's get on into this, shall we? We're going to start with the Punk engine today. We're going to start the deck profile off with 3 copies of the best normal summon in the deck, Zeoman. Zeoman by itself can be full combo. It's especially turn 1, all you need is Zeoman, and the rest is history, you know what I mean? Best normal summon, all of the monsters are going to pay life points for their effects. So Zeoman will pay 600 to search, and then you can get your Foxy Tune, dip Foxy Tune, dip one more card, get Shirakusai, and that's full combo right there. Speaking of Foxy Tune, we played 2 copies of Foxy Tune. Foxy Tune can also be considered a second copy of Zeoman. Foxy Tune can start your combo without needing Zeoman necessarily, but if you do start with Zeoman, you'll normal summon and search for Foxy Tune. I played 2 copies of Shirakusai. Shirakusai, I kind of slept on for a little bit, not knowing that you could synchro summon on your opponent's turn, which will not only give you another interruption, but also a draw one with your field spell. So you can always draw one on your opponent's turn, which is like in general not nice. It's not okay, but it goes through. You know what I mean? 2 copies of Deer Note. For a while, I was playing Deer Note at a 1-of. Having Deer Note at a 1-of is not bad, but the number of times that it came up that I needed another Deer Note and my Deer Note was already in the graveyard, like, no man, play 2. Trust me on this one. 1 copy of Wagon, which will search you either of your 2 copies of Jam Session. If Punk gets support, it needs another spell. A spell that does something different, maybe brings back a Punk monster by paying 600 life points or something. But the point being, because you don't have another Punk spell that you want to go into, because the other 2 are kind of trash, not only play 2 copies of Jam Session, but Jam Session's also like super important to your card advantage strategy, so you want to have 2 of in case one of them gets Cosmic Cyclone. Next up, I've got a single copy of Madam Spider, which will search you either Dangerous Gaboo or National Warrior Surprise. For a good while, I wasn't playing National Warrior Surprise, man. I was like, oh man, it's just a pop. Like, why would I just pop when I can monster negate? But Skill Drain came up a couple of times, and then Field Spells came up a couple of times, and I was like, oh man, like a target pop would be really good right now, but I didn't have it. So now we play National Warrior Surprise. 2 copies of E-Telly. I've heard from lots of people that this is a mistake, that I need to play 3 copies of E-Telly. I disagree. E-Telly is really good. I think it might be super important to the engine, but I don't care. I'll just be wrong on this one. That's fine by me. And then a single copy of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. I consider this a part of the Punk engine because if you already have all of the Punk monsters, let's say you drew Zeoman and E-Telly, right? Then when you get to the part where you're at Jam Dragon Drive, like, what are you going to search? Another Zeoman? That's lame. You want to get another interruption, and Ghost Ogre can be searched off of that because it's a level 3 Psychic Tuner. But yeah, I mean, that kind of does it for the Punk engine. Next up, we'll go into the Bystial engine. I would say that the Bystial engine that I play is pretty standard. I did have to make a couple of adjustments after Joshua Schmidt won YCS Bologna. I was watching a video where he said why he played the engine the way that he did, and I'm not one to not take advice from a world champion. That being said, I played 3 copies of Rebellion. Rebellion's probably the best card in the engine. It's a searcher. Most of your searchers should be at 3 ofs, if they can. because Magnum Hunt's a searcher, but it's at 1. And usually, if you already have Lubellion in hand with Magnum Hunt, you search Druid's Worm. Druid's Worm will get rid of big bad threats for you just by using your not only your branded beast, but also its effect in the graveyard. That once it's sent to the graveyard, it can remove another card from the field. It just sends it. Um, so um, these two cards are really important. If only Magnum Hunt wasn't limited 1, we would play it at more. I play 2 copies of Bystial Serenir. The reason that I play 2 copies is because Serenir has gotten me out of a couple of binds sometimes. Not only that, but I mean, if you've already got a plan to get your Lubellion on the field, you can send Serenir to put Branded Regained in the graveyard and then bring it back during the end phase with your Branded Beast. So Serenir is a really good card. I would definitely play 2 of. I wouldn't drop this to a 1 of or anything. This is the way to play it. 2 copies of Regained. Joshua Schmidt taught me, like genuinely taught me, that this card is super important. Being able to draw another card is like invaluable, and on top of that, being able to recycle your what's it called, your resources from the banish zone is super important. I bumped this card up to a 2 of because of Joshua Schmidt, and I think that that's the way this engine should be played. I play a single copy of Brand Beast. I've actually only run into 1 field spell that can't be removed by card effect. It'll stay there. Every other field spell will lose to Branded Beast. On top of that, Skill Drain is a pain in the butt. You don't want to have Skill Drain anywhere on the field. So Branded Beast is good in this deck to eliminate those threats. Next, I played 2 copies of Assault Synchron. I know what you're thinking, but Jose, Assault Synchron is not part of the Bestial engine, excuse me. Well, I mean, it kind of is. At least the way that I play it. When I have Assault Synchron in hand, he will special summon himself to pay the 700 life points. And that's important because my life points need to be lower than yours. On top of that, level 2 tuner, level 8 non-tuner, light, dark, these 2 by themselves will make you a game ender. Chaos Angel with used as with a light in the dark is crazy, right? Especially in a synchro deck, your synchro monsters won't be affected, and in general, that's just good for you. You know what I mean? Um, that's the end of the Bystial engine. Next up, we are going for the hand traps. I play a very standard array of hand traps, but I play them kind of the Josie way. I don't really play them like other people play them. I play 2 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom might be the best hand trap in the game. The only thing that's keeping me from playing it out of 3 of is the fact that it's once per turn. I don't want to end up with um, 3 Ash in hand or even 2 Ash in hand, right? 2 Ash in hand is still bad for me. What I want to be able to do is have 1 Ash in hand, but not, like, I don't necessarily need it. I can let my opponent play all the way through, and if I can break their board, I win. If not, we'll go to game 2. You know what I mean? Next up, I play a single copy of Droll and a single copy of Nibiru. Going first, I'm not so much worried about, not necessarily going first, but like game 1, I'm not worried about interrupting my opponent so much as I am about my own consistency. So these 2 are just Nibiru target, or not Nibiru targets, crossout targets. At the end of the day, I want to be able to continue to play, and Droll can be a turn ender. Nibiru, not so much, but that doesn't mean that I like it. I would definitely always play in any Punk engine 2 crossout designators. Next up, I've got a couple copies of Super Polymerization. Any card where you can't respond to it is crazy, but Super Polymerization using your opponent's stuff as material, like if you don't have copies of Super Polymerization, dig through bulk and find them, man. A single copy of Called by the Grave and a single copy of Solemn Judgment. They don't go together. I'm putting them up so that there's not like a weird array of cards on my mat. Called by the Grave, again, I hate Droll. Droll will end my turn. Solemn Judgment is in case they summon something I don't like, or in case they go to do something I don't like. Dark Ruler No More will ruin this deck. It will end it. Like, just if they Dark Ruler No More, you scoop. It's game, right? But Solemn Judgment is will stop that. And then, of course, 3 copies of my favorite hand trap, Infinite Impermanence. I like Imperm more than I like Ash, but that I don't think it's better than Ash. Imperm isn't once per turn, and that's what I like more about it. But at the end of the day, it's got less use for it, if that makes sense. But definitely play three, because if you start with three in your hand, this is normally what I do. I use it to interrupt once. If they're going first, I use it to interrupt once, and then turn two, I deal with two of their Omni negates right out the gate. So that will do it for the hand traps. Next up, we'll talk about the extra deck. Um, I'll start with the punk portion of the extra deck. The punk portion of the extra deck is pretty standard, I would say. Um, Definitely didn't do anything silly or willy with it. So we've got 2 copies of Amazing Dragon. The reason I want 2 copies is because I want to be able to use its effect to bounce twice. Yes, it can get kind of specific, but better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. 1 copy of Jam Dragon Drive. I did play a couple with 2 of them, and the issue that I found ended up running into is that because its effect allows you to special summon it from the graveyard if they respond to one of your punk effects, I don't need 2. It'll just recur itself. A single copy of Rising Carp. Rising Carp has a couple of effects that are really good. Rising Carp will let you tribute itself to special summon 2 from the deck, and then also, if it's used as synchro material for your synchro 11, you can target it and have it attack twice. When you use this to bounce everything on their field, normally, if you do it at the right time, that's just a turn ender, they'll pass turn. Then you can use its effect on the next turn to special summon back your Rising Carp, and then synchro summon that off into your Psychic End Punisher. Now this can attack twice. Your Psychic End Punisher at that time will gain 300 if you haven't used Solemn Judge, or 3,000 if you haven't used Solemn Judgment. It's game. Like there's not anything you can do. Speaking of Psychic End Punisher, we've got my favorite boss monster twice, Psychic End Punisher. Um, any deck that I can slip this guy into, I'm going to. I love Psychic End Punisher so much. Um, the number of times that my friends have seen Psychic End Punisher and gone, damn, that is, oh man, just such a. I'm not a good Yu-Gi-Oh player, so to hear them be like, well, I can't do anything about that, always good, right? Um, my single copy of Chaos Angel and my single copy of Bystial Dispatter. Chaos Angel is really important to the deck because it's synchro based, so anytime that you can make your synchro monsters or dark monsters unaffected, um, always good to have. And again, Assault Synchron, Bystial, Lubellion, and you've got Chaos Angel. Bystial Dispatter, this has come up before, where instead of needing a Bystial Lubellion, I needed a Dispatter because I had too many banished light and dark cards. Also, never found an Omni Negate, you know what I mean? Like, that's always good to have. Next up, I've got a single copy of Heradic Dragon King Atum. This one is kind of silly, but it got recommended to me by one of my buddies. Shout out Tate. Tate told me that this will come up anytime you're playing a Bystial deck, or a deck that has the Bystials, because you can use its effect to detach one and special summon one. And then, of course, if you play any Xyz monster, you need to have Divine Arsenal Zeus in your deck. Zeus is just a board wipe. So let's say we use this effect, detach, special summon a Bystial. Now I can attack Zeus, and I've got a single board wipe, which could quite possibly come up. Next up, you'd be remiss if you didn't play SP Little Knight in this deck. I'm still not on the hype train, man. I don't think SP is as good as people have been saying it is. But with Branded Regain being involved, you can always recycle it if it gets banished or what have you. It's important to have. Then we've got our Super Poly targets, Mud Dragon of the Swamp, and Garura. That's actually exactly what they're in there for, Super Poly targets. Very standard for if you play Super Poly, which you should be playing Super Poly in this format. But that's it for that extra deck. So next up, we'll go over the side deck. Rounding it off, we've got the side deck. Starting off the side deck, we've got my backup plan. A single copy of Nibiru and a single copy of Roland Lockbird. If I know I'm going second, I want to put these in, and I'll probably side out my cross-out designators because I'm more worried about breaking their board and stopping them from putting up a board than I am about my own consistency, especially going second, right? Next up, I've got 2 copies of Diddy Crow. Graveyard Hate, always important. Now that what's it called? The Rise Hearts ban. You want to do as much graveyard hate as physically possible. 2 copies of Valor. Valor is like Imperm, not once per turn, and it's a monster negate. Why wouldn't you? 2 copies of Dark Ruler No More. This one is exclusively because I have the Lost Arts. I pretty much say that in every deck building video, and I'm going to continue to say it because that's exactly why it's there. 2 copies of Droplet. Monster Negate can't be responded to depending on what you send it. Probably just as good as Imperm. The only thing that's different is that Imperm is not once per turn. That's why this is on the side. And then Evenly Matched. In my last video, I showed you guys a play with Evenly Matched and Forbidden Droplet. So if you haven't seen that one, go ahead and check that out. That one's super important. Another copy of Judgment. I want 2 copies of Judgment if I'm going first because I draw a lot, and so being able to draw into the Solemn Judgment is never a bad thing. This next part y'all aren't gonna like, and I know that, and that's okay. And it's okay that you don't like it, and I don't like it. But to be fair, during this top, it did not come up. 1 copy of Epidemic Eradicator Epidemic Virus, 1 copy of Grin and Grave Virus. Now, hear me out, right? Let's say I was playing against one of the best decks in the format, Labyrinth, right? Erad will get rid of their traps, which will buy me some time, right? Let's say I'm playing against, I don't know, Manadium, right? Manadium combos kind of revolve around their monsters. Green and Grave will fix that, right? Not only that, but it'll also destroy from the deck, right? So if they're like, no, I love my hand, they can choose to get cards from their deck destroyed, and getting rid of stuff that they don't know what it could be. For all they know, they're going to draw into that Dark Ruler No More. I can get rid of that. I can prevent that, right? And with Erad too. With Erad, the one card that always screws over my Punk decks, man, is Dark Ruler No More, which is why I play Solemn Judgment in the first place, right? So, if I can get rid of the Dark Ruler No More in the hand or prevent them from drawing into the Dark Ruler No More, they probably won't play, right? But that's the deck in a nutshell. Thank you guys so much for coming to see it. Patreon will get this first. Thank you guys for joining the Patreon if you decide to. And then YouTube will get it a couple days later. We'll say 4 days later, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys for all your support. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit all the buttons, do all the things. I am trying to hit a goal of 500 subscribers. I've got a sponsor lined up, and as soon, man, the second that I get all the cool things that they've offered me, you guys know I'm going to be sharing it with you. So do us both the favor. Thank you.